Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com, and today we're going to discuss the Bloodsport build in Elder Scrolls Online Update 29 Flames of Ambition. This build is intended for players looking to pick up a Magicka Nightblade, complete solo arenas, some group content, and be able to be self-sufficient, do a lot of damage, and have a lot of fun. This video will cover all the important juicy information, skills, gear, champion points, rotation, and more. Stick around as we take a deep dive into the Bloodsport build for the Elder Scrolls Online. Timestamps are below if you wish to skip ahead, and the written build with other important links in the description below. If you like this video, please subscribe, turn alerts on, and consider becoming a member so I can produce more Elder Scrolls Online content. First thing up we're going to cover is the gear section. I'm going to give you some options, some choices, what I found to be best overall for solo play. The first of two decisions to make is the staff choice. We're going with a fire on the front for more single target damage, and then a lightning staff on the back for our AoE ultimate and also a good debuff. The main 5-piece that I went with is the Medusa set. This is obtained in Arx Corinium. The reason, it gives us high crit with an important buff: Minor Force. Minor Force can be attained via skills like Barb Trap in the Fighters Guild or the Psijic skill line, but you'll be able to free up a slot, and having this active on our front bar adds a lot of damage. The Nightblade specifically, active abilities and passive favor high crit and high crit healing and damage, and this PvE stat is a go-to combined with the Shadow Mundus Stone. Love this set. An alternative set is False Gods, obtained in Sunspire Trial, and is a fastic resource sustain set, though Nightblades have great sustain, so I favor this because it's all around good. The second setup is Mother Sorrows, really high crit, and we're pairing a lot of crit, and there's a reason for it. It's very good in PvE. It's an overland set obtained in Deshaan, and it's fairly reasonable on traders. If you're looking for a budget version of this, I did a live stream where I spent 100,000 gold and got 5 pieces of Mother Sorrow, 5 pieces of spinners with bad traits, 2 willpower staffs, and was able to beat veteran Batishram and VMA. So this is a fantastic alternative if you're looking for a start out in a budget, Mother Sorrows and spinners. 2-piece monster helm, I went with Blargs, and the reason why is I have a ton of crit. So if I have a ton of crit, I don't need a whole lot of penetration. Most of my builds have favored spell or weapon penetration depending on the build. But what this does is it's super bursty. So when you're going for those really fast, insane boss clears, hitting a Destro ult at 250 ultimate will add a staggering amount of spell damage and spell penetration. So if you don't know, we're trying to get around 18,000 spell penetration, but not over that. That's why we go with the loadout we go with. So we're pairing a skill to debuff spell penetration and Blargs to basically reach that tier to rip through all the spell penetration so they're wearing nothing. That way, when you go through those boss burns and you hit it for 10 to 12 seconds, you're just gonna shred everything. It's a great set. There's plenty of alternatives. Scoria is great for range damage if you like that. Gorothar, AoE, and melee, though this build is primarily at range. Zons is also a really good single target monster helm, and Engine Guardian is selfish and sustainable. So there's plenty of alternatives. Pick what you like, but I like dropping the house, going nuclear, and flattening those bosses. Love that set. If you don't like this setup and you're suffering from healing or something else, you can go with a Mythic, the Mythic Pale Order. Very good for survivability, though Magic Nightblades really have tons and tons of healing, which I'm going to get to in a minute. What I went with was 5-1-1, so 5 light on the body, and then heavy and a medium on the helm and shoulders. The reason why is this gives us a lot of max stats. We don't need 7 light since we have Blargs and we have another skill that's going to reduce spell penetration. So I went with that because the more health we have, it frees up your food choices. So you can go with Bystat if you have tons to sustain, or you can go with a little recovery food, drop your health a little lower, and that 5-1-1 setup will help you get there. Armor, I went with all max Magicka on my armor, glyphs, and then jewelry, all max spell damage. On my armor traits, all divines, and then all bloodthirsty on the jewelry traits. Keep it simple. find what works best for you. I like the Medusa setup because it allows you to play solo, group, with just a couple of changes, couple of tweaks, and you don't have to go farm 5 or 6 different gear sets to be able to do the content you want. But let's talk about the skills next. Okay, I'm on the beginner loadout here, and I'm going to show you and walk you through kind of my thought process and why I built the bar this way. Number one, the most important thing here is this Merciless Resolve. It's incredible. It's a 40-second buff. It's going to ramp up our crit damage and crit healing by 2% with every light attack. You're going to notice ZOS, this game, Elder Scrolls Online, really rewards light attack. Watch my light attack weaving video if you struggle with this. It will make your damage and survivability incredible. After you get 5 light or heavy attacks, it converts into Assassin's Will. You're going to hear a sound, your icon's going to light up. This will allow you to fire a shot and do a crazy amount of damage, and it'll heal you if you're in range. So the way I like to use this is kind of get this thing lined up and then kind of close the gap a little bit, fire it off if I need healing, and then peel back. You'll notice it does ramp up crit damage and crit healing by 2% up to 5. So what you can do on boss burns is ramp this up, cast rebuff, ramp this up, get it to about 10% buff, and don't fire it off right away. I typically fire it off right away, but if you're going for a massive nasty burn with your Destro Alt or something, you might want to stack those before you fight the boss and get a huge bonus. Another thing to factor in is the Assassination skill line, and why I keep constantly talking about crit and why it favors the Nightblade is abilities slotted add to your spell crit, so each assassin's ability. That's why we set this bar up this way. And then also having a assassin's ability on our bar increases crit damage. So we got 1, 2, and then even 3. So we have a lot of crit on this front bar. Next skill up is a option. So newer players that are picking this up, Consuming Traps, Soul Magic, you get this right away. This is your flex spot, so consider taking this out if you're playing group or you're very good at surviving, you have a lot of sustain, you're using false gods. But newer players that can't get these clears very easily, this is going to help you sustain. It's going to do a little bit of damage over time, but really it's going to give you back max magic and health when an enemy dies. So it's very, very easy if you don't have Pale Order or some other things to use. So what do I use in replacement? I go to the Shadow Dark Shade. This thing puts in work, I'm telling you. High magic cost, but the duration of 20 seconds is nasty. It's going to summon a little dude that's going to fight on your behalf, okay? It's going to run around and basically target what you do, and it scales off your highest offensive stat, so you can use on a magic or stam build. You're going to do this. It's going to add a lot of damage, but another reason to use it here is Shadow Barrier. So casting a Shadow ability gains minor resolve, increasing your physical and spell resistance. So it's going to make you more tanky. So that way you're casting this, you're rebuffing constantly, you're getting that bonus and the damage, okay? So factor in why you're using these passives as well. And then we're going to get into the bread and butter of the build, and that's the siphoning skill line here. So just to show you real quick, increase your healing done by 3% for each ability slotted. So we're going to have 2 abilities on our front bar to slot this, okay? And then casting a siphoning ability will generate ultimate. This is an ultimate generating Juggernaut, both on our passive and one of the active skills that we have on our bar. So we have both our AoE damage ability, Sap Essence, and Swallow Souls, our single target. Sap Essence, 3,000 magic cost, so it's pretty hefty. It's going to do AoE damage around you in a radius of 8 meters. That's a generous amount of range. It's also going to give you the spell damage buff, major sorcery, though I still rely on potions to have 100% uptime. The way to use this is not single target in general. There are some ways I use it in single target, but really you want 2, probably about 3 mobs around before you use this. Otherwise, it's going to blow through your magic. You should primarily use your ground effect, AoEs, and also Sap Essence as 3 or more mobs come in you and you need a little bit of healing. But if you have all your ground effect AoEs, there's a bunch of mobs like Vatashram Final Boss. This thing will work everything. So get liberal with it if there's tons of mobs around. Swallow Souls is our single target spammable ability. The way to use this is as your single target spammable, but also in AoE situations. You're going to want to use this and keep the heal over time running for 10 seconds. So it is a duration, though it is going to be cast over and over and over in single target instances. But if your pressure, make sure your Swallow Soul is active. That heal will do a massive amount of healing back to you and keep you up through a lot of tough instances. So I'll combine a Swallow Soul, heal over time, with a Sap Essence and AoE and hold my block. I will be very, very hard to kill, especially if my health is above 23,000. Next ability up is an Assassin skill line, Impale. So the way to properly use this is basically 25% health or lower. You're going to switch from Swallow Souls into Impale spam, light weave attacks. So don't use this above 25%. Sometimes in my videos, I'll try to time it where they're at 26, 28%, and I'll do a light attack, because if that hits first, they'll drop down to 25%. Either way, use this around 25%, but you're going to want to make sure your Swallow Soul heal over time is up. So don't go just full potato and start casting this and you die because your heal over time is up. So I like to always get my buffs up, get my ground effect AoEs, hit one Swallow Soul, then get ready to prime for execute and just rip it. Light attack weave in between. Trust me, it adds a lot of damage, and you're going to want that Merciless Resolve popping. One of the most busted, OP, crazy, insano, nuts ability in the game, Soul Harvest. Putting this on your bar, just read, while slotted, anytime you kill an enemy, you gain 10 ultimate? Oh my God. It's bananas. Insane. So you're going to keep this on your bar and not use it too frequently, but you're just doing it because all of your damage, your ground effects, your front bar, you're hitting saps, you're hitting Swallow Souls, things are dying, you're executing, you're generating so much ultimate. That's why we use the Belarg set, because we're just dropping the house so frequently. I can drop 3 or 4 Destro ults around. It's crazy good. Another thing that's great about it, it's 70 ultimate. So some of these boss clears, I'll drop my ultimate right before they spawn. I'll go in, if I kill 1 or 2 adds on my front bar, I got a Soul Harvest up. I'll close the distance, hit it, fire off a Merciless Resolve, 2 impales, 10 seconds, fight over, see you later. On our back bar, we're using the Maelstrom Lightning Staff with an infused trait here. I don't have perfected yet, but it's going to increase our spell damage, and we're primarily going to use it for the Destruction Staff skill. Unstable Wall, 10 seconds, hefty magic cost, huge area. This thing is a must to keep up, okay? With the Storm, concussed enemies are sudden off balance, so that could add a little bit of damage for you. And also you can kind of stun them. So that's a really nice way to have that on your back bar. And then the Lightning Elemental Rage, it adds 2 seconds to the duration. So the base duration, 7 seconds, get 2 on that. That's 9 seconds. When we pop our ultimate at 250 ult, we're going to get 12 seconds Belarg proc. So 9 seconds, 12, it's pretty nasty for roughly about a 10% burn, because after that ultimate drops off, that mob or boss, if you're playing solo, should be in execute range. A hell of a combination. Speaking of a hell of a combination, Elemental Blockade for ground effect AoE along with Twisting Path. Twisting Path is fantastic. It's a 12-second duration, so typically I cast this first. It has a massive bananas radius. It's very deceptive in what it looks like and actually what the damage does. So you look at the tooltip, 2,300 magic damage every 1 second for 12 seconds. Okay. You pair that with an Elemental Blockade, this won't have the effect of blowing up, but 12 seconds of that much damage, single target AoE, this thing is almost your #1 damage ability, and I think it is most of the time. So Twisting Path, a must to keep up. And guess what? It's a shadow ability. So again, we're going to get Shadow Barrier. So between Twisting Path on our back bar, and then if we have Shade up on our front bar, you should be having a Shadow Barrier up pretty much most of the time, allowing you to be very tanky, even in light armor. Next ability up is a good old shield, light armor, harness magic, very simple, base damage shield strengths off your max health. So I don't get too liberal with this. You'll see the cost, 4,000 Magicka. We should have plenty of healing coming in with sap and funnel health, or excuse me, swallow souls. So the way I use this is a reactionary tool. If I'm on my back bar and I need to go through an entire buff rotation, and I know I'm going to take a bazillion amount of pressure, like I'm on Batishram Last Boss or the Argonian boss in VMA, I'll cast this preemptively and go through my rotation. So I'll do siphoning attacks, I'll do a drain on them, I'll do twisting path, I'll do storm on them, blockade, because that's about 4 seconds, 4 global cooldown. So I'll cast, this lasts 6 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, drop the house, 5, and now this thing comes down, my health doesn't dip significantly. Or if my health dips below 50%, I'm in trouble. I'm going to pop it, go to my front bar, and then start swallow souls, make sure that heal over time's up. I'm going to start sapping and sapping and sapping. Dips again, I'm coming back here, harness magic. It's your survivability tool. Your resource sustain tool is siphoning attacks, another busted OP crazy insano ability. 20 seconds, it costs almost nothing. It's going to make your light and heavy attacks, again, heal you and restore tons and tons of resources. And a fully charged heavy attack restores twice the value. Plus, you don't want to cast this early, you're going to want to let it fall off, so it restores a massive amount of magic when it ends. Incredible ability. Keep this up all times. Precast it before the boss fight, or when you're about to take on some portals. Another really powerful ability, and we're going to run this in solo primarily. Elemental Drain. 28 meter range, 23-second duration. The reason we're running for this is, yes, the resource sustain is nice, but really it's the spell resistance. So it's going to lower their spell resistance, you see, by almost 6,000. So if we combine this with our Belargs, basically we're going to get right around that 18,000, maybe a little bit more. So for 12 seconds, if you combine Drain with it, it's going to be like these bosses have zero spell resistance, and I'm telling you, you're going to hit a lot harder. The thing about this is it does require a target. So usually I'm on my back bar, I cast my ground effect AoEs, and I have one of two options. I fully charge a heavy attack, or I wait for the boss to spawn and I tag him with this, because I'm going to want that lowered spell resistance for a boss burn. If you're playing in a coordinated group, someone's going to be running this on your behalf, or running this buff for you or the debuff for you, so it's not nearly as valuable. So if you're playing in a group, I would recommend coming over here and dropping Mystic Orb and putting that on your bar. It's crazy high single target AoE damage, and you see I just got this thing morphed on this guy because I never used it before in the past. But if you like that, or you're doing good with resource sustain, or you're running sharpen trade or something else, you might want to consider dropping Elemental Drain and putting Mystic Orb on there. You're going to rip it and grip it. Okay, so let's just go over the rotation here real quick. Kind of you can see this live in action. So first thing we're going to do is pop a potion, right? And so we'll look on our front bar. What do we have? Well, we got 40-second buff, so usually I start there, and we'll go back. And like I said, usually we go from longest to shortest. So start on my back bar, Drain will not start combat, Siphoning attacks will not start combat. So I can fully charge heavy, I'm gonna bar swap, okay? And light attack. So I got my 2 ground effect AoEs. I casted them in order of the duration. 12-second twisting path, okay? And then 10 seconds unstable. Now I'm going to bar swap back up front. If I'm using Shade, I'm going to cast that, or I'm going to go in my Swallow Soul Light Attack Weave, which looks like this. 1, 2. So about 3 or so, and you're going to go back, okay? So let's practice it a little bit further. So we're going to rebuff if we can. Well, I'll show you what the Assassin's Will looks like. And boom, to the face. 53,000, that's all. Crazy good. Potion. Merciless. Debuff. Get that up. Let's drop the house here. And we're going to put the blockade down, and now we're going to get into our weave. So then I can fire off Assassin's Will if I want, go back, and you'll notice I still got about 3 seconds. So that light attack weave, you can probably get 3 or 4 or 5 of them in there as you practice this. So one more time, light attack weave in, and you'll notice, look at the bar below. So I got my Assassin's Will, 1, 2, 3, we got a bunch of them. Now I go to my back bar. So get this going. Try to light attack weave in between. Merciless is about down. So we're going to recast that. We're going to go to our back bar. We're going to cast Siphoning up. Drain up. Blockade down. Twisting down. Potion off cooldown. Merciless. And this is it. So you're watching your buff timers, and then when you initially start, it's going to be Twisting. But Twisting is going to last a little bit longer. So when you go to reapply it, you're going to do Blockade, then Twisting. And the same thing with Siphoning attacks and Elemental Drain. When you go to reapply it, it's going to be Siphoning first because it's going to fall off first. Then it's going to be Elemental Drain. So Practice this. When in doubt, if you can just do one damage over time effect and then progress through it, that's a great way to do it. So don't be overwhelmed if you're not keeping them up all the time. I would consider twisting path a priority and siphoning attacks a priority. On your front bar, you gotta have Merciless up. It's too good, too juicy. Start there, work on it, add more things. You're gonna just do crazy damage. Okay, next we're going to go over champion points real quick. I have a detailed champion point list for 1200 CP. I'd recommend checking my website, links below in the description. I'm going to go over the shinies real quick, what the most important things are, okay? Green Tree, Steed's Blessing over here. So I make my way over to basically Treasure Hunter right away. That's what I want to really get to, because it makes farming gear incredibly. If you're a crafter or you're like a stealthy person doing other stuff, you may not have enough to get here. The first one you can get, and you should get right away, is Steed's Blessing. Makes your out-of-combat movement speed better. I go for Treasure Hunter. And these other two, just Quality of Life, Rationer, and then Liquid Efficiency. Very nice. Blue Tree, the priority is this. Eldritch Insight, it's not a slottable, so it gives you max magic, right? Crit Chance, yeah, we want that. And then Crit Damage and Crit Healing. No-brainer. And then you're going to want to come over here and get at least 10 points into Piercing. 10 points into Piercing, which is Spell Pen. Offensive Pen will open up these slots. Deadly Aim, single target, we do that. We do damage over time, and we do area effect damage. So the path essentially is coming here, grabbing this one, coming down here, grabbing these three up here, and now you have your 4 slottables that are very, very good. If you don't have access to that, you could always go with Arcane Supremacy and Untamed Aggression. And then these are your defensive trees. You're going to want at least 10 points in a quick recovery. And then Preparation, Elemental Aegis, Hardy. I think these two right here, Preparation, Elemental Aegis, make the biggest difference on my survivability. Coming over to the red tree here, you're going to start with Tumbling. You're going to come to Mystic Tenacity. I only want to do 10 points into here. You're going to want to max out Hero's Vigor, and you're going to want Siphoning spells right away. Killing mobs is going to restore max magic. Incredible. The rest of them are just a little bit of flavor stuff. So sprinting, blocking. This one's nice for breaking free because you are going to get stunned a lot. But those are the 4 common sense shinies that you're going to have. The consumables that I like and use, Spell Power Potions, Alliance Spell Draft. These are very, very nice. So think about taking these if you do a lot of PvP, or you can buy the ones on the traders or craft them through alchemy as well. Food choices, you have a couple different options. So depending on your max stats and what you like to run, how aggressive you want to be. Buy stat, very aggressive. So if you have Resource Sustain, like you're running False Gods, a very, very good set. If you're not running False Gods or Consuming Trap, it's going to be very tough to Resource Sustain. So I'd recommend Clockwork Citrus, just depending on what you're doing. Potions, Alliance Spell Draft, or Spell Power Potions, it will give you 100% uptime on the important buffs. You're going to use them on cooldown because you get ultimate as a Nightblade for using them. I also keep tripods on me in case I get in trouble, and I will get in trouble. So getting a nice heal on demand, all the 3 resource gens going is very, very nice. And then poisons. Damage health poisons. I run this over my enchant on my front bar. Seems to do a lot more damage. But you could go with something that maybe does magic steal or health steal if that's an issue for you. But I found these overall in general make a huge difference in my damage per second. Racial choices. I did play a meta build on this guy, so I went with High Elf. Spell Recharge. It gives you sustain, okay? Increase magic. Amazing. And spell damage by 258. This is a very, very good race, but it's pretty much geared towards all-out magic. I also don't like the look of the thing. I don't know, it looks kind of derpy, tall. I don't know. I don't like the look, but if you want to play meta, High Elf is very, very good. Dunmer, Khajiit, those are great options to go with. So I don't know what exactly does the most, but High Elf is just disgusting good. Mundus Stone choices. So Shadow. If you're playing purely solo and you don't run Blarg set, you might want to go with the Lover for Spell Pen. But again, we're going to have plenty of Spell Pen, especially when we use Elemental Drain on a target. So that's not an issue for me. And I go with the Precise Trait on my weapons as well for that exact reason. But Mundus Stone is up to you. Shadow, Thief, both good options. Pure solo, Lover as well. I would stick to one of those 3. That's a build for the Bloodsport, the Magicka Nightblade PvE, Elder Scrolls Online Update 29, Flames of Ambition. I have a full VMA trifecta clear I'll be uploading and using this exact gear setup so you can see how it plays in real time. Also, I have a past live stream where I did a 100k build on suboptimal racing gear and was able to still complete it. So overall, I feel the Magicka Nightblade is a top tier PvE class, and most folks should pick it up if they struggle with DPS, solo, or survivability, because Nightblade has it all. So look in the links below or look in the cards in the top right if you want more Magicka Nightblade action, and thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, turn alerts on, and consider becoming a member so I can produce more Elder Scrolls Online content.